Hello, Wonderhussy here, hanging out in the middle of the desert on a beautiful, bright, blue, sunny winter's day. I'm headed to my mom's house for Christmas, and well, when I drive up to visit my mom, she lives up in the San Francisco Bay Area, well, I usually have to go through Barstow to get there. And I thought, well, I might as well stop and get out, stretch my legs at a place that I've never visited before, right outside Barstow, and that is Fort Irwin. Okay, Fort Irwin is this huge army base about 37 miles outside Barstow, and I've driven past it, God, dozens, maybe even hundreds of times. But, well, I never took the exit and got off to go look at it because, well, come to find out, it's like 30 miles off the highway. You got to go back into the literal middle of nowhere quite a while to get to this army base. And you can probably hear there is a lot of traffic going by on this. This is the only road in and out. I know the sun is right behind this shot. Apologies for that. But in the distance, you can see, I'll zoom in. The road just goes on and on and on and on and on through nothingness, extreme desolation, all the way back to Interstate 15. And, well, that's where I came from, and that's where I'm going to have to go back. But I'm glad I decided to take this little detour and check this place out, because who knew Fort Irwin is absolutely fascinating. Okay, so I'm standing out here in front of the welcome sign, I guess. I think the gate to get onto the base itself is, I don't know, another 5 miles down the road. And obviously, well, we're not going to be able to go on the base. I don't have clearance and I don't have a military ID card, so I'm just going to poke around here at the entrance and show you a few interesting things. Okay, obviously, the first interesting stuff we see is right here at the entrance sign. There's a, well, I guess that's a tank. And besides that helicopter, we also have, well, I don't know, I guess this is just another kind of a tank. You'd think there'd be signs here saying what they were, but, well, all there is a sign saying, "Do not climb on this vehicle." Huh? Anybody ever fly in a chopper like this when they were in the service? Anyway, what I think is so interesting about Fort Irwin is, well, there's a bunch of government bases in this area. You know, I'm right smack in the middle of the Mojave Desert. And, well, everyone knows that there's all kind of weird government activity going on all over this region. I mean, first and foremost, everyone's heard of Area 51. Well, that's the Nevada Test and Training Range over in Nevada. Here we're in California, and over here we've got China Lake, Naval Air Weapons Station, and we've got Edwards Air Force Base, and we've got that big Marine Corps logistics yard in Yermo, and then of course we've got this Fort Irwin. So I wasn't sure what Fort Irwin was, and I had to do a little Googling and read up on it, and it's super interesting. So you might notice the sign says National Training Center. So what this is this is where they train, I don't know if it's just the Army or if it's all the branches of the military, for going overseas to engage in foreign wars. So like back in the 80s, I just think this is so interesting. Well, there's this regiment called the Black Horse Cavalry. What a name. But they're basically stationed here full time. And essentially what goes on here is this Black Horse Cavalry, I guess, plays the bad guy for all these other troops that come here to train. So like back in the 80s, they sent all the army guys out here to train for war with the Ruskies, you know, the Soviets back then. So these Black Horse guys would dress up in these Soviet outfits and carried, I guess, Soviet-style weapons and drove Soviet-style vehicles, and they would engage these troops in, like, I guess, practice skirmishes, battles. I'm not really sure. It sounds wild. So then, obviously, after that Cold War ended, I think they're probably dressed up like Arabs now. As a matter of fact, I know they are. I was reading on the Wikipedia page for this. It's fascinating. So there's these fake villages out here. I think there's two pretty big villages, and one of them has like almost 600 buildings, and there's like a mosque and, you know, restaurants, shops, a whole like fake city with role-playing actors who speak Arabic and I guess are pretending to just be regular citizens. And they provide this, well, gosh, if you're a gamer and you're familiar with the term LARPing, live action role playing, it's basically a big ol' military LARP out here where these army troops, I guess, can train for the situations they might encounter when they go overseas. And I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds pretty friggin' interesting. Okay, unfortunately, much to my immense dismay, like I already said, I won't be able to go onto the base let alone go visit either one of these fake towns that, oh my God. Now I'm really curious. I'll never get on this base, but I'm gonna have to go home and start doing some searching on Google satellite view just so I can, you could probably see the villages on satellite view. I know I have looked at this base on Google before because it butts up against Death Valley, I think, over to the east. And so one video that I made once, I was hiking to a cabin that was like bumping up right along the border. And so I had to be real careful where I was going. And I saw some very strange stuff on Google Earth looking at this place. And it's not just the tanks. I mean, even the landscape. Look at the landscape behind me. It's really a weird part of the desert. Totally fascinating. Even though we can't go into the base itself, lucky for us, there happens to be a lot of weird, interesting stuff in the desert all around Fort Irwin. And like I said, I'm on my way to my mom's house. I'm actually going to Bakersfield to spend the night. And I don't want to get there too late, so I don't have time to go poking around everything today. I'll be back for sure. But I thought, well, we might as well go check out one or two interesting sites outside Fort Irwin before we leave. Okay, wow. There's a big old pile of painted rocks, and we'll go check those out in a minute, but first let's read the sign. You can see it says Painted Rocks, established August 1967. And then next to it, there's a poem, I guess, about this rock pile. And I'm really not going to bore you by reading this entire poem, but I'll give you a little sample of it. How many have been to this desert retreat to train as they sweat and curse the heat? How many have come to play the war games? Does anyone know? Is there a record of names? Anyway, basically it goes on to sort of muse about all the different people that have come through, all the different troops. Some gave the ultimate sacrifice, and well, some of them are forgotten, but as the last stanza reminds us, the rock pile stands in glorious hues. May the memory of each fighting unit infuse each soldier with pride that this legacy will be carried on by NTC. And no, if you guessed that this poem was written by William Shakespeare, you're wrong. It's actually written by, well, maybe William Self, W. Self, in 1981. Haha, how about that? Anyway, basically that's what this rock pile is. It's more or less just graffiti of all the different regiments, battalions, I don't know what you really call it, all the different units that have been here, and they all have their different names and their different logos. And so I guess the tradition was, or maybe still is, that they come out here and paint their particular logo on one of these rocks. Like the 1-155th Infantry of Mississippi Rifles. Again, I don't know how you would pronounce that, 1-115. There's probably some military way of saying it, and I'm butchering it, kind of like when Donald Trump was quoting that Bible verse from 2 Corinthians, when you're actually supposed to say 2 Corinthians. Well, I don't know how you would say 1-155, but anyway, the Mississippi Rifles were here. Then we have the Trojan Horse, the 13th Support Battalion, the 4th BDE 2nd ID. Anyway, there are a whole bunch of different crazy logos. I mean, some of these are pretty badass. Like, look at this, Hellhound. And we got the Hooligans. That's a great name. And look at their evil skull logo. How about this? Dixie Thunder. Man, some of these sound almost like racehorse names. You know, like when you watch the Kentucky Derby and those horses all have these crazy names? Well, some of these regiments remind me of those names. Well, look at this one. Blue Babe. Is that supposed to be like Babe the Blue Ox from Paul Bunyan? Wasn't Paul Bunyan from like Wisconsin? I wonder if that was some guys from Wisconsin. Oh, that's cool. Oh, look at this one. Okay, this is amazing. This is the werewolves. Look at that. And they even put a wolf, a howling wolf, on top of theirs. Now that's dedication. Aww, the wolf is my spirit animal. Oh. Okay, well, I don't have time to look at every single one of these rocks, or I'd be here all day, but wow, this is actually very interesting. And you know, I would recommend stopping here and checking this out for yourself next time you're driving down I-15, but it is almost, or I think it is 30 miles out of your way down this road. And by the way, it looks like it's a really dangerous road. Like, well, you can hear and see there's a pretty decent amount of traffic on it, and it's 2 lanes for most of it, and it says no passing for a lot of it, but people do try to pass, and so consequently, well, there's a lot of those little white crosses to indicate that somebody died in an accident. So if you want to come check this out, just be prepared. It's going to take some time, and well, it could be kind of dangerous. Whoa, look at this one. It's the 7th Squadron, 10th U.S. Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers since 1866. Wow, so this squadron was a thing since 1866. That's impressive. That must have been like, I guess, the Indian Wars, and that's why they were called the Buffalo Soldiers? Or does that have anything to do with the Bob Marley song, Buffalo Soldier? I don't think so, because I feel like Buffalo Soldier, that song is about slavery, I think, if you listen to the lyrics. I don't know, what do I know? I'm just having 2 tons of fun looking at all these crazy painted rocks. But my eye is drawn to one thing in particular, way up top. I spy with my wondering eye some kind of really cool box up there. I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. It almost looks like some kind of weird little shrine or something. Well, golly, I'm not really wearing very good shoes for climbing. Matter of fact, I'm wearing galoshes because it's supposed to rain where I'm going. But I think I could probably climb to the top of this. This is very grippy. I don't know, I guess it's granite, but it's the kind of stuff that's real easy to climb up. I'll bet you anything. Well, they had to get it up there somehow, so I'll bet you anything there's a pretty easy way to climb to the top. And I'm going to do that because, by golly, I want to find out what's in that mysterious box. Let's see. I mean, I'm hoping it's not disrespectful to climb on these painted logos. Hoping not. But yeah, look at this. We can climb right up there. No problem at all. It's just like a big old playground back here. I guess I would recommend wearing better boots if you do want to come here and climb up to the top. You know, wear your hiking boots. Don't wear galoshes. Oh gosh, what does this say? The SPC Creed. What's an SPC? I am a SPC. I am a master of sham. When my name is called for duties, my ears go deaf. I put it upon myself to delegate my duties to privates. I will always sham. What? Is this some kind of joke? First of all, SPC, what is that? Oh gosh, you'd never know it, but I actually grew up more or less on a military base myself in Germany. My dad was in the army, but my parents split up and we lived off base. But I went to school on the army base, and so you think I would know what an SPC is, but well, unfortunately, I just had a brain fart, so I'm not really sure what this means. But I know what this means. I love you, Erica Tremblay. Oh, how nice. Erica, if you're watching, somebody loves you. She probably already knows. He probably took her up here and showed her, and maybe they drank a 6-pack of beers together here. I'll tell you one thing they probably didn't do, though, was smoke a doob, because there was signs posted saying no marijuana, no recreational, no medical, no nothing on this base. Well, I guess technically we're not on the base yet, so, well, what do I know? Maybe they did bring a 6-pack and smoke a doob out here, but, yikes. Careful. Don't want to break a leg just before Christmas. Aw, Nick and Kelsey. August 25th, 2018. I wonder if they're still together. Nick, Kelsey, if you're watching this video, let us know the status of your relationship. Ugh. You ever hear that saying, curiosity killed the cat? Alright. Okay, I made it. Oh my god, I got to this mysterious box, which, well, shocker, upon closer inspection isn't that exciting, but it is pretty cool. So it's just a concrete rectangle that says Spirit of the Bayonet 65, first in, last out, 65th Engineering Battalion. Okay, and then look at the top of it though. This is kind of cool. There's a lantern, a solar lantern on top. So I guess at night, all these cars, when you're driving in, coming to the base, this little beacon shines for, gosh, probably a long way. It's a pretty big solar light. You know, it lets you know that you're almost home. You know what I mean? Like, say you're in the army here, you're stationed at Fort Irwin. Okay, you signed up to be in the army because you wanted to be a badass and impress chicks and, you know, visit foreign countries and, well, you know, do all that stuff. And then they sent you out here to Barstow. So say you're some, you know, 19-year-old, well, no, let's just say you're a 21-year-old guy in the military, and you're stationed out here in the middle of this vast, desolate desert, and, you know, it's it's payday, it's Friday night. You want to go out and sow your wild oats and have some fun, so you want to drive into town. That's right, you want to go into Barstow. Because you know Barstow has the best looking women and the most fun honky tonks in the entire Mojave Desert. Well, to get there, you got to leave the base, which, gosh, I guess the base is back that way. I think the guard gate is just over that rise there. Anyway, you'd have to drive all the way down this 30-mile long deadly stretch of highway to get to all the action in Barstow. And well, you'd go out and you'd have some drinks and you'd maybe dance with a few pretty girls and you'd have a fine time. But eventually, well, you had to get back to base because don't you have to be in bed at a certain time? So you'd be driving up this highway in the dark and oh gosh, you know, oh, I hope I'm not late, or Sarge will make me swab the toilets or whatever they make you do. And then you saw this lantern right here that I'm sitting next to shining, and that let you know that you're almost back to the safety of your base. How cool is that? Okay, well, since I did climb all the way up here to the top, we might as well pan up and do a 360. Okay, so there's the road I came in on. Over there you can see my rig parked in front of that sign. And then look beyond. I mean, there's a vast, looks like a big dry lake bed. And there's all these really cool rock formations that aren't painted over yonder. And I think that's part of the base there. There's some kind of communications tower on that hill. And there's God knows what beyond that ridgeline there. That's probably where all the fake villages are and all the Arabic-speaking LARPers. Man, the more I think about it, this place kind of sounds like military Disneyland. This Black Horse Cavalry is what's called OP4, which in military speak stands for opposing force. So, yeah, somebody just honked at me. So basically, if you're in this Black Horse Cavalry and you're stationed here and you're part of this OP4, you're being paid to play war games and like pretend to be the bad guy. And, you know, I don't know about you, but if I was to join the military, that sounds like, unless you're in the military band or doing one of those ISO tours like Bob Hope used to do, that sounds to me like the most fun you could have in the military. Like, I always enjoyed, you know, playing make-believe. I have an overactive imagination. So if I spoke Arabic, especially, and I got hired to be one of these OP4 people, oh, it would be amazing. It'd be really interesting. And oh my gosh, I sure would love to see those fake towns up close in person. But unfortunately, that'll have to wait for, well, maybe another day, maybe never. Right now, I got to climb back down off this rock pile without hurting myself. Whew! That was gnarly, even for me. Listen, if you come out here and you want to climb to the top of this rock pile, first of all, I don't recommend trying it, no matter what kind of footwear you're wearing, unless you're very confident and skilled at bouldering, because I don't think there was an easier route than the one I took. It was just pretty sketchy. Mom, be glad I didn't film the whole part where I was climbing down. Oh, look, I wonder what this sign says. Probably says, don't climb on the rocks. Whoopsie. Oh, rock painting is permitted at painted rocks only. All requests must be submitted through Chief G3 Training Division. So I guess if you want to come out here and paint like, you know, John Loves Sally or whatever, you've got to get permission first. So I wonder if those lovebirds did get permission. Don't worry, guys. I won't tell anyone. Okay, let's head back over to the car because there was a really interesting sign over there. It goes into some of the information and history of Fort Irwin. You can see at the top that we're 37 miles south of Death Valley, 37 miles northwest of Barstow in the Mojave Desert. Anyway, it just goes into some little details about what life would be like if you lived out here on Fort Irwin. Your average high is 78, very pleasant. The record high was 114, which actually that's not even that hot, 114. I mean, Vegas gets to be like, I think the record high in Vegas was like 117, 118. Okay, and then it goes into some history, talking about how in 1844, John C. Fremont and Kit Carson came by here. I guess John C. Fremont was the first member of the Army to visit this area. Okay, back then, this was on, or this still is, on the Old Spanish Trail. The Old Spanish Trail, I think, cuts right across Fort Irwin. So I guess, you know, I communicate with somebody, and I actually met somebody who walked the whole Spanish Trail. And I don't know how they got across this base, but I guess maybe they had to walk along the fence or something. Anyway, in 1940, the Mojave Anti-Aircraft Range was established here by Franklin D. Roosevelt, and then it became Camp Irwin in 1942, and then in 1951, this became a U.S. Army Armored Combat and Desert Training Area, and then it became the National Training Center in 79. And in 1994, the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment became the opposing force, the OPFOR here. And then randomly it says that we're just 150 miles from LA and 180 miles from Las Vegas. So we're basically smack dab in the middle between Vegas and LA. Boy, who'd have thought there was this much interesting stuff going on out here? Okay, before I leave this site, there's a couple other kind of interesting things over here. I mean, this landscape is crisscrossed with what look to be off-roading trails. This sign says, well, it's got a red cross on it, and it says AXP Painted Rocks. I have no idea what that means. Very mysterious, but whatever it is, I guess, is right down this road, and golly, I don't know if you're allowed to go down this road or not. There's another sign over here. This one, let's see. Warning, unauthorized entry to the range complex is prohibited. Entering without authorization could lead to death or injuries. It is prohibited to remove munitions and unexploded ordnance from the range complex. Removal of items will be prosecuted to the maximum extent provided by the law. Bypass of checkpoint is not authorized. So I take that to mean, yeah, you know, you could take your side-by-side out here, or your Jeep or your 4Runner or whatever, and you know, there's many ways you could sneak into this 12,000 square mile base. You know, it's not like there's a fence around it. I mean, it's vast. Well, maybe there is a fence around it. I don't know, but there's probably ways you could sneak in, but they're just telling you right here that it's not a good idea. So basically, don't go driving around this road. Let's see what this sign over here says. Oh, another warning. Restricted area. This installation has been declared a restricted area by authority of the commander in accordance with the provisions of the directive issued by the Secretary of Defense. All persons and vehicles entering herein are liable to search. And then it says, area patrolled by military dogs. Military working dogs. Yikes. I may or may not have some, well, let's just say medicine in my car. I'm not going on the base, though. I just pulled right up there to look at them rocks, and I'm getting out of here. Then it also says the introduction of weapons, ammunition, explosives, or other prohibited items, and photographing or making notes, drawings, maps, or graphic representations of this area or its activities are prohibited unless specifically authorized by the commander. Use of deadly force is authorized. Wow, far out. So I guess they don't want people going in here taking notes and making drawings to send to the enemy, I guess. Hopefully that doesn't apply to YouTubers. Again, I'm not on the base. I'm just sort of lurking on the perimeter. I mean, any place with signs like this, you know you better be careful. Anyway, that's the painted rocks at the entrance to Fort Irwin. Like I said, this desert is chock full of weird, unusual attractions. I mean, I must have 10 locations pinned on my Google map that I want to go check out in them there hills. Yeah, by the way, I picked up this olive oil bottle that somebody inexplicably littered on the ground here. Why you would be littering a mini bottle of olive oil, I'll never know. Unless this is one of those places where people go for their secret assignations. You know, certain illicit assignations, and that's all I'm going to say about that. You can figure out the rest. Anyway, like I said, there's a bunch of other stuff out here that I definitely want to go check out, but I think it's only about 3 o'clock, but the sun is already so low in the sky, and I got to drive all the way to Bakersfield. Actually, I'm not even going to Bakersfield. I'm going to Buttonwillow. If you've ever driven up and down I-5, you know what I'm talking about. I've got a lot of miles to make before the sun goes down, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave all these other mysterious locations for another day, but that just gives me an excuse to come back here. I'm definitely coming back here as soon as possible to explore as much as possible without running afoul of them working military dogs and, well, basically giving them a reason to use deadly force. Stay tuned.